Robin are two fun friends diving deep into conversations where nothing is taboo. They believe in eating dessert before dinner and wearing the bikini. They're allergic to labels, authority, and cheap shoes. Currently, they're launching themselves through life being the good time, bold enough to take risks and inquisitively asking, what's next? They hail from New Hampshire, but they could be anywhere dressed in cute clothes. If they had to share a tombstone, it would read, "Curiosity killed these cats." Your hosts, Lisa and Robin on the mic.
Welcome back to another episode of Lisa and Robin on the mic. You are listening on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. You can watch, stream, and listen on WSMN.live. We are up sort of on a second hour here. Robin, I'm going to click you on in a second, but we have a very exciting guest. Let me get my glasses. I'm so excited. I was just in their office yesterday. Is it this one? So Dr. Brooke of Crossroads Chiropractic. She has served the state of New Hampshire as Miss New Hampshire 2023, being the first doctor of chiropractic to compete for Miss America 2024, which is very exciting. Some of her accomplishments include serving on the board as event coordinator for the Foundation of Vertebral Subluxation and published research author, founder of Choose Health, an educational program for empowerment of youth to make healthy choices, founder of National Concussion Awareness Day, raised over $11,000 for Brain Injury Association of New Hampshire, and has served on 8 international chiropractic mission trips over her lifetime. She has advocated for brain injury awareness as a peer-to-peer lecturer on behalf of the BIA for the past 11 years since her brain injury in 2014. Brooke is a graduate of Sherman College, where she obtained her degree as a doctor of chiropractic and was awarded the B.J. Palmer Philosophy Award, Service to the Profession Award, and Student Researcher of the Year Award. She co-owns her practice, Crossroads Chiropractic, with her chiro husband, Dr. John, supervised by their 7-month-old baby girl, Ellie. Welcome, Brooke.
Thank you so much for having me.
Well, tell me all. So I was in your office yesterday, and I was saying how much I love going to your office because there's always little kids and babies around.
Yes.
So I said, you just need a dog and a cat in here, and I'll never leave. I'll just be in here.
Sometimes we have fur friends visit us, but not there full time.
And what I love is that back in the day, we would just have colicky babies, and we didn't know so much, but now you actually dedicate your practice, and your practice goes to serve. I had next to me a mom, a dad, their 3-year-old girl, maybe 2 to 3-year-old girl, and then their newborn baby, and they were all being seen.
Yes.
They were all being treated.
Yes, we see a lot of families, which is the most rewarding patients and practice members to be able to take care of, because
I'm trained.
at every phase and stage, there are different developmental milestones. There are different things that families need help and support with. So for moms, taking care of them throughout pregnancy is huge. We have this hormone called relaxin that pumps through our moms' bodies to be able to allow them to have a really successful birth and allow their body to pretty much stretch to its wit's end to be able to carry and create a baby. But making sure that their spine is well adjusted helps alleviate some things like morning sickness really get helped by chiropractic care.
Wow.
Acid reflux, that heartburn, headaches, sleeping, and then obviously how your body is feeling while carrying all that weight. And then on the other side, your body goes through a huge surge and decrease of hormones, and that relaxin slowly gets out of your body by a month. And so then we feel stiff. We're also, most moms are breastfeeding or looking down at their baby all the time. I know I personally had so many issues with my neck postpartum because I was looking down at my baby all the time. So taking care of our mamas, but also our babies. If we have a traumatic birth, or even what we would quote unquote call a normal birth, it's traumatic to the babies. If we have a fast birth, That means that baby's head and skull didn't go through the birth canal for a long enough time to really create that proper head shape. And so then that can look like latching issues, tongue ties, that can look like colic or reflux, or just a not super happy baby. And on the other hand, if we had a really long birth turned into a C-section, again, that baby didn't get that normal process, and it can be really hard on them. So, and then we've got toddlers that are, bumping into things, falling off of everything. We want to make sure that they always have the best foot forward. So I love caring for our families.
Yeah.
So what made you decide to get into like families?
So my mom was actually a chiropractor. I was born while she was in chiropractic college, and I pretty much grew up the same way that Ellie is currently. I was always in the office, and my mom's practice members would always ask me, are you going to be a chiropractor like your mom someday? And I would quote say anything but. I did not want to be a chiropractor. I saw how hard she worked, but I saw how busy she was, and I didn't think that I wanted that for myself, selfishly. But when I was 14, I suffered a brain injury. I was kicked in the head in my mandatory gym class. I went to go pick up a ball, and a boy went to go kick that same ball, and he ended up kicking the left side of my face, knocking me unconscious. And from that, I had pretty much daily amnesia. I lost about 3.5 years of memories, so 2.5 years prior and about a year after my brain injury that I have no memory of. I had headaches for the first time in my life, light sensitivity, noise sensitivity, sleeping problems, mood issues, and the list truly goes on and on. And at that point, after about 3 months of having a lot of memory issues and not being able to get back into school, or I couldn't even walk to the mailbox because I had such problems with my heart rate. So a lot of different areas of my brain were impacted through that concussion. But after about 3 months, we went to the New Hampshire concussion neurospecialist. And as a 14-year-old girl who had never been put on any medications, he gave me a prescription list for 7 medications, one of which was an Alzheimer's drug that was still on trial. And that was my big wake-up call as to how most of society lives, is we go to these experts, and instead of getting in tune with our body and figuring out how I was going to heal my brain, it was slapping 7 prescription medications that I was probably going to be on for the rest of my life, for headaches, for my mood changes, for sleep, for my memory issues, and they were on trial still at 14 years old. So I get chills still talking about it, because it makes me really sad to know that if I didn't have the understanding that my body is super powerful and that my mom didn't have her education background, I probably would have taken those medications. So that was my big wake-up call, in knowing that I had to be an impact and be a voice in educating society that our body is so powerful, and that we should really get to the root cause of issues, not just band-aid fixes throughout the rest of our life, because that it truly just compounds and it becomes a bigger issue later down the road. And I love kiddos. I wanted to be a teacher because I love babies. I love kids.
Well, you do teach at your office, because every time I go in, they're like, "We have more reading for you. You're at this stage. We have more reading for you. Oh, and by the way, we have this little thing for you." So I do feel like you still keep your educational component in place, because I'm always like, I love reading that. I'm totally going to read that when I go home.
We feel responsible to help, make a change, even just in our community, to help educate our families.
Well, so now you've drawn us into the story. I have to know how it ends. Like, so the 7 prescriptions, then what happened after you went home?
So my mom, being a chiropractor, right after I had that concussion, she got me adjusted, gave me a nice big old salad. I felt better and went back to school, and that was kind of the beginning of the huge shift. I didn't go back to school after that day for about 3 months. And so we did not obviously fill any of those prescriptions. What happened is we then started taking a deep dive into finding some more research out there. I was a competitive dancer. I didn't play any sports, so I didn't really know what concussion was. And my mom, being, a girl mom, didn't really know that much either. She had had a few kids that came in with concussions, and she knew what she could do to help them, but pretty much knew that they were to heal, and my brain injury wasn't healing, and that was when it became that post-concussion issue where I had those prolonged symptoms. So we did a lot of research, and we couldn't find a whole lot of support. So I started a blog. That was where my journey started, and it was called Finding My Way. I shared a lot of different unique stories as to what it was like to be 15, 16 years old with memory issues. I talked about like losing cookies, like thinking that I'm gluten-free, and I've been allergic to gluten for a long time. So one of my favorite blog posts was talking about how I could not find this gluten-free cookie that I put in my backpack for like after tutoring or something like that. And I realized like 4 weeks later that I had eaten a cookie before tutoring. So things like that, and what it was like to live post-brain injury. And then I founded National Concussion Awareness Day after that, because I really felt like there was no resources out there for other kids that were experiencing things like this. And that opened my eyes up into, we started to have that return to learn guidelines and the return to play guidelines, which is a slow exposure to the classroom and a slow exposure to athletics or sports to help get kids back to their normal activities. And there was nothing for return to work. So I started meeting more and more adults that were having these issues after car accidents. And, their parents, they have jobs, they have bills to pay. And I didn't. I was 14 years old, and I was grateful to have a family that was able to take care of me. So I really just became a resource first and foremost, educated myself, and then I became an advocate. So with the Brain Injury Association of New Hampshire, I became a peer-to-peer lecturer. So every month I went to a different school in the state of New Hampshire, and I told them my story, and I talked about the signs and symptoms of concussions, because as a student myself, I felt like I could really speak to them rather than an adult, at sharing the importance of taking concussion seriously at a time when students want to just get back into the classroom or get back into their sports. They don't want to be sidelined, but really advocating, because we only have one brain. There's no brain transplants.
So what are some symptoms that are often overlooked for concussions?
Headaches is the biggest, probably most common. And these things I always encourage people to realize after a car accident. You might not have a huge car accident. You might be fine, no bumps, bruises, no airbags deployed, but whiplash causes concussions. It causes this.
The brain sits in fluid.
Yep. It is.
And that's what shakes.
That is what shakes, yes. So I talk about this in that classroom.
Okay.
If you had a glass jar, a mason jar, and you put an apple in that jar, and then you fill it with water, if you shake that jar, your brain is hitting your skull wall. That's pretty much what's happening, and it's stretching these tau proteins, stretching neurons that create these tau proteins that build up. And that's how repetitive concussions create chronic traumatic encephalopathy, or what we're seeing our NFL players suffer with when it comes to end of life, and they're getting Alzheimer's at a much earlier age, and a lot of other issues, suicidal thoughts, dying of suicide, so on and so forth. So other symptoms, though, light sensitivity is pretty common, noise sensitivity. If you're a big reader and your eyes aren't tracking, you're finding yourself very easily fatigued by reading. That's a huge sign. The sleeping issues, if you're waking up a lot throughout the night, if you're finding yourself dizzy when you go from sitting down or laying down to standing up, that's another sign. Something you can do is check your pupillary reflexes. It's not that hard to be able to do. You can have somebody take a pen closer to your eyes and farther apart. Make sure your eyes are dilating correctly, taking a light, shining them through them. Those are good signs as well that you can really check in and see the brain. The brain is the easiest way to be able to check is it's through your eyes.
So one of the things, I think it was Andrew Huberman said, our eyes are the external part of our brain.
Yes. Yes.
Which is so fascinating.
It is fascinating.
When you're having vision problems, it's one of the things, because I had a client whose dad was elderly and he was having severe vision problems.
Yep.
And I said, well, I just heard this on a podcast, so take it for what it is of nothing. But they're the outside parts of our brain. Like maybe go to when you're not getting any help. this is the 9th doctor you've been to or whatever. Why don't you go to a neurologist and see what they had to say? And he's like, I never thought of that. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So that started that journey for him, which was the right journey. And now he's getting significantly better.
That's awesome.
But I love the idea, because I never thought of it this way, like, our brain's completely in our head. No, our eyes are our brain.
Yes. There's a lot of different new research and studies coming out about how you can utilize the eyes in training and exercises to help you access different parts of your brain. So if you have a kiddo that is super creative but can't sit down to do math ever, there's different exercises that you can do with the left side of the brain to help strengthen it.
So do you close the right eye?
Yes, you would do that and play music in a certain ear as well to be able to access that. And
maybe I need to do that to be better at math.
Maybe I need those exercises.
It's extra impactful for our kiddos with autism or other developmental challenges to be able to go back and forth between those sides of the brain, which is something that they really struggle with.
Oh, that's fascinating.
It is fascinating.
It is pretty cool.
What other cool little tidbits do you have over there? I feel like I was going to talk about chiropractor and the spine and the vagus nerve, but now we're kind of into the brain. This is really fascinating.
I studied neuroscience in undergraduate degree because I was passionate after my brain injury. I wanted to know as much as we could, and I felt it was so fascinating that we know so little so far. It's really one of the big concepts that we need to continue to invest.
But I think it's kind of cool that you do chiropractor. You do like healing chiropractic work. I know I don't have the word right now, but then with neuroscience, because we're like, did Joe Dispenza, he talks about healing himself after his car accident, but talking about how powerful our body and how powerful our brains are, and how we don't have an awareness of how powerful our bodies truly are, what we're capable of doing in healing ourselves. So I think it's fascinating how it's kind of like you've incorporated mind, body, and spirit into all of that. And that's what I am excited to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We talk about how chiropractic we're pretty much nervous system doctors, but we access that through the spine.
Yes.
Because our brain is communicating to our body, and we got to make sure that those messages work correctly.
And then not like, hello, I don't feel good, because that was me the other day.
In chiropractic, we talk about the safety pin cycle. So if you imagine a safety pin that's closed, that's a good, healthy circuit. So our brain's at the top, our body's down below. All the messages are able to get back down, but our body is able to send those right messages back up. And that stays healthy. But if we have a lot of subluxations, and subluxations come from emotional traumas, so stress to your body.
Can you talk about that one
Yes.
a little bit?
Because everybody's under stress, right?
Yes, we it's easy to think about traumas causing issues. In chiropractic, we have the 3 T's: the thoughts, traumas, and toxins. And so the 2 are harder to think about and view, are the toxins and the thoughts. But when we have a lot of stress in our life and in our body, or we're talking very negatively to ourselves, it creates tension. It creates dis-ease. So not disease, but dis-ease, where our body is not functioning at its optimal capabilities. So if you think about like saying bad things to yourself, you're obviously going to hunch forward. You're going to not
To protect yourself.
You go into this protective mechanism, and that usually includes, it's actually really funny. If you think about somebody who's like standing in a hurricane, they're usually going to be like this, right? Like protecting their face, arms up, shoulders in their ears. That's the protective mechanism. And that's what we do when we are thinking bad thoughts or we're in an emotionally traumatizing state. And if that happens repetitively over time, that's where our body stays and lives. And our nervous system is constantly firing too much. So we're in that sympathetic state. And chiropractic care, getting adjusted, puts you back in that parasympathetic state, which is that rest and digest. It's where we want to be. It's where our body is functioning well. We don't want to be living in that sympathetic, because that really shuts down our digestion. It shuts down our ability to sleep and relax. It shuts down the ability to do so many things, because our body is so cool, and it knows that if we need to run away from a bear right now, we're going to shut down our digestion. If you were in labor, it would shut off labor.
Yeah.
So if you want to talk about how traumatic the hospital room sometimes can be, and how slow births can become, and then stalling, that's a whole.
So my mother, they tried to tie my mother down. So this was in the 70s, and they had you physically lie 100% down on your back.
Yep.
And she kept saying, but I would feel better. I have to get up. I feel
You
like
need gravity.
I have to get up. And they were like, you need to get down. And she's like, but I don't feel like I want to get down. And so she was trying to get herself up, and 2 nurses held her down. And one of them started clamping her down, and she wrestled the other arm free and punched that nurse in the face. So my mother didn't have any nurses in the hospital when I was born. They just eventually had a doctor come in with the forceps because they were like, you assaulted the medical staff. And my mother was like, I needed to get up. I didn't need to be pinned down to the bed. And they just had like this standoff in the hospital. But
so
she had and I have black and blue eyes from the forceps of being pulled out because her labor, because they didn't tie her down, but they made her get back down.
Yeah.
So my labor stalled
stress,
for.
Yeah. Her body was telling you this isn't safe, and so that sympathetic kicks in when you really want to be in that parasympathetic mode, especially during birth and labor, so that everything.
But the language is, you were such a difficult baby, you didn't want to come out.
Right.
Yeah.
No, actually, we were trying the speed route of the slide.
I just need you to chill out, Mom. I was a breach.
Gravity's a crazy thing.
Right. Oh my gosh. So go back. The thoughts, traumas, and toxins, those are all from stress related?
Those are what cause subluxations. So subluxations are misalignments in the spine, sometimes very, very little. But as we have a small misalignment in the spine literally from our skull all the way down to our coccyx, it can create interference in that nervous system and can create small, not impingements is not a great word for it, but it's hard to visualize what a subluxation is. But it doesn't allow those nerves to work in the way that they're optimally supposed to. And so those messages aren't getting back up to the brain. That can look like asthma, ear infections, digestive issues,
Fast heart rate.
We have so many practice members. Shout out to our men. I love a good man that needs some support in his health realm.
And they don't usually get that because they don't like to talk about.
They don't like to talk about themselves or their health. But we have so many that come off of their blood pressure medication after getting adjusted. We have so much though that we have to tell them and warn them if they're on a blood pressure medication that they to keep check of it, because it will drop down too low when you're on a blood pressure medication. You're getting adjusted, your blood pressure is doing better, and then there's too much medication in your system. So many times we've helped our gentlemen get off of their blood
That's
pressure
amazing.
medication.
Yeah. I literally just had a cardiac ablation and from SVT.
Wow.
And so when I'd gone to, was it last year? Valentine's Day?
Yep.
When we went up to Baubles and Lace. So one of my trips to the ER, she had said, maybe it's something that you had at birth and it's just now becoming, I don't believe that. I don't believe it at all. I've never had an issue. I've never had a heart issue. I've never had high blood pressure. So I was like, well, maybe going through menopause, changing the hormone cycle, like the changes in my hormones.
Well, estrogen is heart protective.
It is.
So we do lose the protection because women 35 and under don't have heart attacks usually. Like that's a very, very rare thing.
Right. So I was on hormone therapy and then it dropped, and then we were traveling. I didn't get my prescription renewed. Couldn't get it renewed because I needed my blood work, and then it was just one thing after another, and life happens. So I'd had the hormone therapy, and I was like looking at all these factors and going down to it, talking to my cardiologist. I definitely think that it was stress induced. Like the only way to get my heart rate down, which is kind of weird, like I use a meridian pin, and sometimes like if it's just getting up a little bit, if I can just take and I can do some pressures on my hand, can do it on my neck, and I can slow my pulse rate down. It was one of the things but it went to the, I was at the ER. I was going to the ER because my pulse rate was 186. And she's like, I don't want you walking to the room. Like, I will. So I just did he said that your heart had created a separate pathway.
Because our body's so smart.
Yes. And it's
and so talk about how is that smart for the body? Why is it making that adjustment?
The name of the game for our body is always adaptation. Always. It's survival. So whatever your body is struggling with, it adapts. And that's what those issues manifest as. That's what it becomes. A colicky baby is a good example. If they have a lot of misalignments in their spine, it's usually from that upper cervical region through the birth process. When we have forceps or vacuum or C-section or even a normal birth, there's rotating that happens when baby comes out. Oftentimes, providers are rotating in the opposite direction on accident because they don't realize they're trying to help, and so you can see babies come out with their head rotated on the opposite side that they should be, and that causes a lot of misalignments in the upper cervical spine in the atlas and axis, which is your C1, C2, and your brainstem goes through there. It starts into your spinal cord right at that junction, and
it's where all the cords go through. And it's like, when you're doing your Christmas lights and you're trying to get all the cords.
Yes,
that's your brain.
That is your brain. So when we have a small misalignment, so it's slipping to one side or the other, posterior or front, it creates different issues, and then we get a fussy baby from that, because they're unhappy. They're not getting the right messages to their body that can cause that reflux. So anything that's going on in our body is usually a message and a signal that's happening from something.
Because when you think about exercise is a struggle that makes your body adapt stronger. Right? But all these other things are your body adapting to overcome weakness.
Yep.
Yeah, so go back to the heart where you're talking about adapting and about it creating another pathway for which, and I didn't know until my other cardiac specialist over here was, so what I learned going through this is that our heart has the ability, and every cell in our heart has the ability to create its own impulse. And so how he said your impulses, your electrical impulses have gone haywire, and we just want to help regulate them.
And I joke that it's the body has the dominant and the subordinate, right? But something's happening through a stress or something, and then one of them's making their own beat. And like these two are trying to dance, and this third one is like knocking knees, like coming over like that crazy dance person, and the other two are like, we're dominant. I'm like, and like, so everyone's fighting.
Yep. It's so
at
true.
The party.
Yes.
It's a really good way to think of it.
That's my cardiologist explanation of AFib.
But at the end of the day, your brain's like, okay, I'm still getting the right amount of blood flow to the rest of my body. I need more blood to get to my brain. We need to oxygenate our cells. And so whatever's helping your body get to that is what's going to happen.
Well, so what's funny is when I wasn't aware of it until afterwards, until probably the second time right after the second time I went to the ER, I kept telling her, I feel like there's a knot in my throat, and I feel like I have this brain fog. There's like a thickness in there. And the only way I could relate it to, like, the only time I took codeine one time, Tylenol with codeine one time, and it makes you feel just kind of like a fog. But a thickness. It's not like you were, I don't know, a stupor. Anyway, and she's like, I don't think that your heart is working double time to try to get oxygen to your brain. And since then, I haven't had that feeling of like that knot in your throat.
That's good.
And it's like trying to take a deep breath, and it's still quite not enough to get there. And I'm like, just how... Even when you try to do meditation and you try to relax and you try to do, like I did these little mantras over and over again, it's your body's still feeling that way. So it's hard to, like I feel like when you manifest something or when you're talking about having to bring it about, you have to feel it and believe that it's happening.
Absolutely.
Instead of just saying it, you have to put action behind it.
Yes.
And I think the action is the feeling it or having the confidence to know that it's going to happen.
Yep.
And I couldn't quite get there. Because your body's still fighting it. And you're sitting there and I'm feeling like I can feel like the tingles across the back of my neck.
Yep.
You know, I can feel my pulse racing. And I feel like, all right, so I was living by my blood pressure cuff. And I'm like, okay, my face is hot. I'm like, I got to go check.
Yep.
Like every little thing. I'm like, just has gone completely haywire.
I'm sorry to hear it.
I'm good now.
Yeah, she's good now.
That's
so
good.
far so good.
That's awesome. Yeah, the body is miraculous. Like when you're talking about that, it makes me think about like hypothermia. When you're in a cold situation, you first lose your fingers and your toes, right?
Yeah.
That's because your body's not going to pump the blood to your hands and toes because they're less important
Right.
than the rest of your body and your organs. So it's another thing of adaptation. But when we come to struggles like that are persisting, you did a great job taking care of your thoughts, manifesting, and trying to not be in a stressed situation and things like that. And when those things continue to persist, I have to look at the traumas and the toxins too.
Yeah.
So talk about those.
They hinder your body's ability to adapt to things. So when things persist, you've got to look at in those directions.
Is there an overload capacity?
There is. What that is, it's so different for everybody. Yep. I mean, we're talking these days, you can read so much about microplastics. It's really scary. But we know right now that the microplastics that, my baby girl Ellie has and has been exposed to, she's going to carry those on for the next 3 generations. Yeah. That's insane. And so minimizing your exposure to a lot of different toxins helps, but going down that rabbit hole is hard because I personally have an all or nothing mindset. I really struggle with dabbling in something.
I'm not. You were like me. It's like, how do you get in the water? I dive in.
How do you just do a little bit of research?
Because I can't walk one step into the cold water. I can dive in and be like, that's so refreshing.
Yep.
Or I'm not going in.
Yes.
So I suffer from that too.
And there's different things in life that we just can't avoid. I have an emergency gallon of water in my car in case I ever break down with a baby girl, but that water's been in my car through 5 summers. And so that plastic has melted and heated up and frozen up and all the things, but it's in there. And if I have an emergency, you bet your bottom I'm going to drink it.
I had a gallon of water in a porta potty. I had twins, and everyone's like, no, we're not going backwards. We're not going to have an accident. I cannot tell you, I had a Suburban, and my kids were potty training, and I'm like, oh, you have to go potty. And goldfish. I always had emergency snacks or something. We'd be good for at least a gallon and some goldfish.
Yeah.
But I can't tell you how many times I pulled over on the side of the road. Well, and we also lived in Francistown and Deering, so we're a lot of back roads. And my kids were just sitting I have to go poop, and we're sitting on the side of the road, and I'm like, we are not having an accident. But she was trained; she's completely potty trained by 16 months.
Sweet, way to go. That's
well,
awesome.
her whole thing was they were sleeping, they were being potty trained through nap time, and we'd have a pull up and stuff. And I just said to her one day, we can go pick out panties. I know you hate that word.
I hate that word. God.
But for a little girl,
I guess.
Underwear.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm like, you can go pick out and so she's all into princesses. So she was not going to pee on Belle or Cinderella or Sleeping Beauty.
Okay, I'm locking that one in.
She was like, we went and we shopped, and she got to pick out her own underwear because she was staying dry through the day. It's hardly having any accidents. So I'm like, let's try it.
Sweet.
So yeah,
that's awesome.
She's like, done. But she's also now at her second year of Tufts Dental School. So she just got her white coat. So she's
determined.
She's that one,
yes.
once you set your mind to something, and I'm like, you know what? It's true for all of us. Once we really have that belief system in ourselves, we can do anything.
Absolutely. You definitely instilled that in her.
Hopefully. I hope it was me.
Right.
I think
credit.
It was. I'm taking credit. I'm taking credit for that one.
What do you think are some things besides chiropractor? I know you give me my little flyers and stuff. What do you think is something that our listeners can do immediately right now to support themselves as they prep, and maybe consider what ailments can be helped with, say, chiropractic?
My biggest thing that people can always work on now in giving, tactics and things you can truly take away, obviously getting adjusted helps your body clear out toxins, helps your body adapt better, which is why it's great for every age and every stage. But beyond that, limiting our toxic load, and then really get cognizant about your stress levels and what you're thinking on the daily. I love giving the exercise of taking a thought log and truly writing down everything you're thinking and saying to yourself for 24 hours. It will be the biggest wake-up call as to how you are viewing the world, because it's truly our internal environment that determines how we feel and how we're thinking about the day. So just becoming aware of that, you can help start to switch those narratives into more positive, or whatever you need in your life to switch. If you are more pessimistic, you're gonna help be aware to switch those thoughts. But then tactical, lowering your toxic load is huge. I always start with just whatever's you're running low on. Start to investigate what a better option is. So if you're starting to run low on your everyday surface cleaner, do some research into some lower toxic options. Put some vinegar and baking soda in a bottle and start using that when you can. It doesn't always have to be expensive swaps for low toxic living. Us females, it's really hard to find non-toxic makeup that actually is something that you'd like. But doing a little bit of research and dabbling in that, when your tube of mascara runs out, that you maybe find one that doesn't have tar in it. That's a starter. When your deodorant runs out, that you're finding one that's at least aluminum free. Aluminum and breast cancer, we're going hand in hand. So particularly important for our women, but more research is coming out on how men with toxic aluminum deodorant and body care products and how that's relating to prostate cancer too. So there's that takeaway.
Oh, wow, yeah.
Hair products, things like that. Switching clothing is a big thing for both men and women, especially if you're younger and wanting to conceive. Switching away from at least not plastic underwear. Men, you can find some nice silk boxers or cotton, and females finding cotton underwear. Wearing plastics, especially when we're working out, it just absorbs into our skin, and that's increasing your toxic load.
Water wicking stuff
Yes.
is plastic?
Yes. Anything that's like a poly
Commando
ends with ethane is always is a plastic derivative.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes.
So all those, we're putting moisture wicking into a lot of our
Spandex.
clothes.
Mm-hmm. Usually when you shop for baby clothes, you'll see that they're all cotton, and it switches somewhere around 2 to 4 years old of clothing becoming plastic.
Oh, interesting.
Isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
It is.
So I think the biggest thing too is what could you tell listeners for every day is for managing stress? Because I think everybody has different levels of stress, and they don't
Turn off the news. Turn off the.
Well, that's for sure.
That's Lisa.
Absolutely.
That's not Dr.
But physically, with your mind, body, obviously physical changes. I think everybody should know that. Don't listen to bad stuff. Don't listen to the news. But
listening to the news is a big one for sure. I am huge at when you're dabbling in this and starting to take the dive, to change your physical first, because it makes it a heck of a lot easier to change the mental. So seeing sunlight first thing in the morning, opening your blinds if you can. If you live warmer than New Hampshire, we're getting there. To get out on a walk first thing in the morning, even if it's just to the mailbox. Save your meal for the next morning and go out and get your meal. It's huge to help regulate your circadian rhythm, which means that when you go to bed at night, you're going to have a deeper, healthier, more restful sleep, which makes it so much easier to make healthy choices that next day, right?
Yes.
So if we start there, and then taking that mental audit of what you're thinking about through the day, and then really write down what your goals are, your personal goals of how you want to experience and relate to life. Because if you take that mental audit, all of those key places that you can fix are going to come out for you. And then find what brings you some joy. I like time blocking my day. It becomes more challenging when you have children because holy cow, I can't put her on a schedule. So, but time blocking yourself to, if you have a good lunch break, what are you going to do that brings you joy? I love listening to podcasts. I love listening to shows like this. That brings me joy. It makes me feel like I'm bettering myself. And when we get into, work and just life, things sometimes just feel like they're getting away from you. So what are you going to do to invest in yourself or at least just bring you some joy? And then how you're handling your evening. Your morning and your evening are a huge way that you can change and shift your mental health and shift how you're relating to life. Giving yourself, again, something that you enjoy. I love reading, so that's what I do at the end of the night. There's incredible different, we have such great digital technology that you can turn on Hertz music. I highly recommend that.
What numbers do you like?
What is it, 528?
You're 528? Okay.
I think that's what we listen to a lot of. And even if you find it like bothersome to you, you can put it on such a low volume. It's still going to reap the benefits in changing your brain waves. And that is so cool to me.
I've played around with a couple of different levels of hertz. Like sometimes I'll do like for healing, deep relaxation, sleep.
I recently started listening to singing bowls where they take that
the sound bowls.
Sound bowls.
I've done those, but a couple of times what happens is like if I'm doing a hertz and I wake up in the middle of the night and it's like this weird like I don't know, it's high pitched. Like I even literally woke up and said to my husband, I think they're trying to mess with my brain. Like it's some weird because a lot of times it's just like it's a white noise kind of a thing, and then you hear and it's like these little like tiny Asians like singing in a hall and it's echoing. It's a weird freaky sound, like alien. I don't know. And I'm like, nope, not doing that one anymore. So I'm like, I have to listen to the whole thing through. Like I should just put it on during the day and listen through it all the way through. Because
can you put a timer on to shut it off so that you're not in that weird part?
Well,
like
if I woke up in the middle of the night, it's like it's not until like 3:00 in the morning.
That's what I mean. If you put a timer so that as you're falling asleep after 30 minutes, it shuts down.
Yeah, but I think I wake up. I think I come out of like a deep sleep and just have an awareness. So lately, because of that, what I was doing is babbling brook, ocean, running streams, like something that's going to stay consistent like the whole night. But I'm huge on the hertz.
Yep. I love it. It helps my baby girl too.
I was going to ask you I feel like we're always learning new things, right? What is something new that if someone went to the chiropractor 10 years ago and then they didn't go and then they came now, what do you think is some of the new things that they'd be surprised by? Because I'll tell you, I went to a chiropractor years ago, didn't like it as much as I liked acupuncture. And then I was desperate for my knee. So I came in and I totally love it compared to 10 years ago. I think that table that shifts with you is a game changer.
Oh my gosh,
we do love our tables. Our tables are on an air compressor, so they lift up just a small amount. There's so much physics. I'm not a huge physics gal. I'm not a numbers gal. But there's so much physics behind the drop that we have in moving mechanically the perfect amount that's great for your body. It allows us to take care of pregnant mamas too. I think the biggest thing that shifts in chiropractic from, an older mindset is I think there was really this one size fits all model. And it was a lot of, this is what I do and you're going to fit in this mold. And it's the adjustments. I lay you on your side and it's a twisting motion, and it doesn't always work well with everybody's nervous system. In my opinion, it doesn't work well with any. There's just different opinions in chiropractic. Whereas now I think so many more people are understanding the approach is what your nervous system can handle at the time. If you come into me and you are so high strung and so stressed and not adapting to life well, there is no way a lot of adjustments are going to work well with your nervous system, that we could truly like put you over the edge, and your body has so much more to adapt to, if that makes sense.
It does.
And so now we're really understanding that we get to meet people where they're at and build their nervous system susceptibility and adaptability to be able to handle more and to allow to really speak with their nervous system. And that kids chiropractic or baby chiropractic is not just chiropractic care, but on little bodies. It is truly working with their nervous system and allowing that parasympathetic to really set in, working with the vagus nerve, working with their skull to making sure that their brain is adapting and their skull is fusing the way that it's supposed to, but all through the nervous system. I think that's the biggest shift overall.
Because I used to find my husband loved chiropractor,
Mm-hmm.
but he has a rib that he was in a car accident and his rib always goes out of joint.
Yep.
And we always think it's acid reflux, or it's like always like, oh, it's probably
Mm-hmm.
this chiropractic issue. And he had a great chiropractor who passed away, so he had been out of it for a while. But he always used to, every time I had a problem, he'd be like, go to a chiropractor. And I would go, and I'd always feel so tense as they were bouncing on me.
Mm-hmm.
If that's, I know that's not right, very exciting as a description, but when I go there and you're moving with the table, I don't feel the need to
Protect yourself.
protect myself. Where every other time I was in the chiropractor, I would tense as they were doing this lunge
Mm-hmm.
on my hips or my back. You know,
Yeah.
I would always get this like tense
a lot.
feeling.
Well, and I think a lot of times
And
people
so that's why I'm
don't
like,
go.
is
I
it
think
the table? I love the
I think
table.
it's an old mindset about, like, because I've asked my mom several times, you should go to a chiropractor, you should go to a chiropractor, and it is an old mindset and mentality that they're going to hurt you, manipulate you, because I had that limiting belief system when I went in, but I was carrying my stress in my neck and on my shoulders, and I was leaving. I used to work in a lab. I would leave and go home and put ice, and I would lay down. I couldn't do anything else other than, and I knew it was tension and I knew it was stress. That's where I was holding my body. But so the guy I found, he was phenomenal. I instantly felt better, but it was over time that I felt like really better, because it would kind of come back. I was sore the next day, and anything, but I haven't had to go back for that same reason. It's never gone back to that level of stiffness. Like, I literally couldn't turn my head.
Yeah.
Then I had one of his partners, she adjusted me. And when she like did my hips and stuff, she like literally, I felt like she bruised my spine. And I was like, she was just a little rough on that one, but it didn't stop me. And I think a lot of people are fearful of being hurt. And I'm like, it so far outweighs, and with technology and advancement, I think it's.
And I also think it's the person.
Nothing.
So like I was
Absolutely.
protecting something.
Yes.
I was also resistant to something that I would tense that much when someone's trying to help you.
That's fair.
You know, like when I just think of it that way.
But I think like when she said that, when people come in and they're high anxiety, big personality, like being able to shock their system, their nervous system all at once. So it's like these micro adjustments, but that big energy attitude is like, wait, you didn't fix me. Well,
Yes.
I did, but I did step one.
Yeah.
We got to first base, but because you think about how we externally resist things, our nervous system, that's a way of like,
Protecting
hey,
ourselves too.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we're not, that requires me to be vulnerable. So it would be, I could see how that would be a shock to your system.
For sure. And somebody who's in their 50s, it's never gotten adjusted before, when they come in, they have a lot of trauma and patterns
Yeah.
that their spine is in. A lot of our practice members will, in the wintertime, sometimes come in and re-injured. And they're like, what am I doing? I've been getting adjusted for a few months. And we always tell them that we don't ever expect you to not live your life. We would just want to help you be able to do all the things that you
Right.
want to do forever. And so you never think about all the repetitive motions that you're doing throughout the day. I'm sitting here with my legs crossed, and I almost always love to have my right leg on top. That's a repetitive pattern I'm putting my spine, my hips, my pelvis through in a day. And I'm sitting crooked, which is awful. Men sit on their wallets, and that creates an uneven pelvis, which then their whole spine has to adapt to. If you drive a car, you're getting in from the same side of the car every single time, and you're getting out the same way.
And
Men
this
hike
something-
one hip up to get into their truck. Things like that
Yes.
you never think about.
One thing is, why are the headrests forward now?
It's because our spine shouldn't be changing, like adapting wise, but if you look at those like evolutionary charts, they're going to show the young people, or us in the future, like looking like a shrimp.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's because everything's in the forward. We're looking down all the time. We're not having great posture. Ideally, we're supposed to have curves throughout our spine. We're supposed to have a curve throughout our neck. It's supposed to be 35 degrees. So a nice C curve. And then the opposite through our upper back, mid-thoracic, and then again throughout our low back, and then our sacrum is another C as well. And so those are the curves that we're supposed to have in our body. And as we lose one curve, we lose a lot of them because you can't just have one. You'll topple over either forward or back.
Right.
And so it becomes a nice straight line or like a shrimp.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was feeling very shrimp.
Well, I know. Like,
I plowed though for years. I would sit in the same. The longest storm I was ever in was 54 hours. I was out for 54 hours straight.
Wow.
And I physically could not straighten up for 25, 30 minutes. I could not, literally unfold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so most of our kids now, like
All
that,
they do
that
is
neck
sit.
curve is developed through tummy time. So it's developed really young in that low back. Then as we learn how to sit up is when we get that mid back nice arch.
That's interesting.
And all these curves are supposed to stay with us throughout our lifetime. And when we don't have them, we see spinal degeneration, which hinders your nervous system, hinders how your body is able to move and support. So unfortunately, we're seeing 15, 14-year-old kids coming in with spinal degeneration, which is wild.
wow.
How young is too young for a kid to be on that iPad? Or like what are the times?
Give them
0.
a break. Look up. We're guilty of reading too, so at least take a break every 10 minutes.
Oh, 10 minutes.
So, where can we find you?
CrossroadsChiropractic.com. We are in Bedford. My mom's office is up in Pembroke. We're all over central New Hampshire.
And what's your mom's?
We're all Crossroads Chiropractic, so you
okay.
can find us all
Perfect.
there. Yeah.
We'll have to have you back.
Thank you so much
Thank
for
you so
having
much.
me.
Until next time, guys, this is Lisa and Robin on the mic on WSMN 1590 AM, 95.3 FM. Thank you, Dr. Brooke. It's a joy to have you. Until next week, have a good weekend, guys.
Broadcasting from 200 Main Street in the beautiful and historic Masonic Building. This is WSMN 1590 AM and WSMN 95.3 FM, Nashua. Streaming